What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here for PackersNews.com. After the Green Bay Packers drop a embarrassing game to the Detroit Lions here at Lambeau Field, it's late Sunday night. It might even be Monday morning at this point. Out east, I believe it is. But here at Lambeau, it's 11 something, and I'm here to talk Packers with you fine folks. I've heard from Mike McCarthy. I've heard from Brett Hundley. We've heard from the guys in the locker room. But now I need to hear from you fine folks. Goodness knows you have every right to be upset, every right to fire off whatever emotional missives you have. I am here for them. I am here for you, Packers fans. Christopher starts us off with a fire Dom Capers. Gotta tell you what, I have defended Dom for a very long time, both here at this current gig and my former gigs, and it is hard to see a way out of this. At this point, does he have the most talented team? Does he have the most talented players in the NFL on his squad? No, but he has talent, and his inability to get teams off the field, especially when they have an upper tier quarterback, has just become absolutely, downright inexcusable. There's no other way to put it. So I think obviously the Packers will let the season play out. I don't see any brash, sudden movements coming anytime soon, although who knows, McCarthy's surprised us before with certain things. But yeah, I think this season has been, especially these last couple of weeks, and will continue to be, an indictment on Capers and his scheme and his ability against modern offenses. Yeah, Tyler, I was wondering if someone would ask that. Think you're going to be able to shave that beard anytime soon? I tell you what, the upside is my kids will get their own personal Santa Claus. So there's that. Think Dom makes it through the whole season? Yes, I do, Andy. I specifically asked Mike about a quote he gave us a couple weeks ago about not reacting, not getting too high, not getting too low. And I said, do you think, given the fact that you had 2 weeks to prepare and came out and laid what could charitably be described as an egg, obviously Mike didn't take kindly to the question, and he pointed some things out about the game. But he's never going to be a guy who reacts emotionally or impulsively, especially with something as big as moving on from his defensive coordinator. He will let the season play out, I would think. Now, again, like I said, surprises have happened before. Generally not mid-season, but you do never know. I believe they have top 10 defensive talent. I think the possibility is there if everybody's healthy. It just hasn't been nearly that even close to that for much of this year. Was Hundley hiding behind Rodgers? I'm sorry, I missed the rest of your question. Guys, just remember, type short questions and I'll probably get to them and I'll probably be able to answer them. When you type long paragraphs, and I understand you've got a lot to say, but when you type long chunks of text, they go too fast and I can't read them. So should we stick with Hundley? I think that's a pretty legitimate question at this point. McCarthy once again sang his praises in the post-game press conference, but I don't see how you can look at his performance and be anything but concerned. I understand there are mitigating circumstances such as what coverages might be, what guys are doing in their routes, etc. But he doesn't take the all-22 to see a quarterback who is looking at the rush, who's dropping his eyes, who's bailing on his reads early. All those things are presented there in real time, and they don't appear to be improving. You saw him take a few more chances. You saw him throw back across his body into the middle of the field a couple times, which is quarterback sin number one, but he did complete them. So you saw him trying to make some plays, but the big plays just are not there. And for whatever reason, unless it's a singularly defined read where the whole design of the play is for Hundley to go deep on this one shot, unless it is that type of play, McCarthy clearly is not comfortable allowing his young quarterback to try and push the ball downfield. How do we have zero pass rush? Matthews, Perry. Matthews and Perry are not giving you return on their investment. That is absolutely clear. At this point, Nick Perry hasn't been able to beat anybody. He was going up against second and third and maybe fourth string tackles tonight. He couldn't generate any pressure whatsoever. So yeah, that's a big problem for this defense right now. Clay Matthews, We've said all year, he has played well in other aspects of the game, but when it comes to rushing the passer, he's applied a little pressure here and there, but his days of beating tackles one-on-one appear to be long gone. Going away from Aaron Jones didn't seem like a good idea. I couldn't agree more, and I asked Mike about that, and I got another terse response. It seemed to me, this is me reading the tea leaves here, it seemed to me that they moved the ball really well on that opening drive. I thought they did a great job of mixing personnel, and Hundley threw it well, and they got everyone involved. But then that drive broke down when they got behind the sticks after Aaron Jones basically blew a blocking assignment in pass protection, coming off the play action. And after that, they got behind the sticks and they couldn't recover. Well, after that, we saw Ty Montgomery. We even saw Jamal Williams. But we didn't see Aaron Jones until well into the second half. And that was only sporadically. So I asked Mike, did Jones get put in the doghouse? And he was not having that question at all. And I know he has, his mantra that he doesn't correct players in the media, and I understand that, but it's pretty apparent that in the last 2 games you've ridden this kid, he's been your running game, he's clearly your best back, and then after the first drive he completely disappears for long stretches. I think it's pretty obvious that he was maybe not benched, but relegated. Why do sports writers like yourself love Ted? I don't love Ted. I try to explain to you what he does. I say every offseason, this is what I would do. I would have re-signed TJ Lang. I would have given money to, to Jared Cook. That's what I would do. But I'm not the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. I will tell you when he makes a good move, and he makes good ones. But I'll also tell you when he does things I think are, backfiring or not a great idea, etc. But I don't, it's hard for, when you're on social media all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, blah, 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 and you're inundated with all this hatred for both Ted and Don Capers. Well, it's our job to kind of put it in the correct light. And maybe that seems like we quote unquote love them, but it's just trying to get reality out there. I mean, there's one thing to say, well, he's missed on this pick, or here's a data point that points to, a problematic area of his ability as a general manager. And it's quite another thing to say, oh, Ted's terrible, he sucks, like Aaron Rodgers is the whole team and Ted does nothing, which is patently absurd. Sorry, but it is. So, when you say, why do we love Ted Thompson? We don't love Ted Thompson, but he is a pretty good general manager. And all you got to do is look around the league to know that that's true. Now, could he be a little bit more aggressive? Absolutely. And I've said that time and time again. You can search my Twitter feed for a tweet that I put out 2.5 years ago where I said, Ted Thompson's teams are always going to come up just a little bit short. That's his management style. He's always looking to the future. He's always wanting to be a contender, but he's never going to make that extra push. That's just who he is. Top 3 wide receivers still can't get open? Question mark. I gotta look at the film. I know everyone hates that answer, but I thought I saw a couple guys open tonight. But it's not always just guy running wide open. Look at Matthew Stafford tonight. He made a bunch of really nice, tight window throws. That's what playing quarterback in the NFL is. One specifically is Ebron runs a 7 route, and Martinez is right in his hip pocket. It's pretty good coverage, but Stafford puts it exactly where it needs to be, and where Martinez can't get to it. That's a big boy NFL throw. And the Packers receivers are in those positions. Hundley just can't make those throws. Aaron Rodgers could. Our third down defensive schemes have failed us all season. I completely agree with you there. Wide receiver separation still an issue. Deep threat non-existent. Well, I agree with the lack of a deep threat. There's no doubt about that. It doesn't help when the defensive back is allowed to slow dance with the receiver down the field, like Darius Slay was with Jordan Nelson, but it also speaks to Jordan Nelson not having a second gear anymore. Can't wait to see your draft coverage. Thanks. Still got a second half of the season to cover, though. What was up with Adams' effort on the drop? Yeah, Terrence, that was ugly. It would appear he just misjudged it. Hundley talked about it in his press conference. He said Adams told him he just misjudged. He thought it was a lot more overthrown than it was. But yeah, man, make a play for your quarterback. You guys are desperate for a big play. Go make it. Go be the hero. Instead, he kind of sticks out his arm, hits the ball. I don't know what that was. That was weird. Montravius Adams question I saw, yes, he played there at the end. He got on the field. Montravius Adams in the house. Didn't really get to do much, but he was out there. Pac-12 defenders sucks. That's SUX for those of you playing at home. How's locker room demeanor, Matt? Quiet, I guess I'd say. I wasn't in there very long. They opened it up right before Mike and Brett talked. So, but yeah, I mean, not a lot of hooting and hollering, as you might imagine. All that high talk, now the Pack is trash. All that high talk. I don't know what that means. High, you mean like highfalutin talk? Like, hello, highfalutin talk. One of the mock drafts starting, Sean, probably next couple weeks. No flags on Nelson throws, clearly holding or pass interference. Sherry, I thought the first one was definitely pass interference. But I thought the second one I thought was good coverage. Just because he has his hands on him doesn't mean he's pushing or pulling or altering his route. They're going to allow that. You know, that's football in the NFL. That's good coverage. Now, if he pulls him and turns him, that's pass interference. But the first one, where he's literally hugging him down the field, yeah, I thought that was PI. QB runs like Carolina would help. I completely agree. I thought that was going to be the game plan coming in. It looked early on that was a way they were going to go. Hundley had a called quarterback run in that first series, and I asked Brett about it in his press conference, and he said, yeah, you know, it was a focus and emphasis all week in practice, but then we saw one called running play that I remember anyway. Maybe I missed one. Obviously, they got so far behind so quickly that it doesn't help, but yeah, I thought that we'd see more of that. Yeah, Kevin King, a quietly good rookie year. I would agree with that assessment. Obviously, he had the penalty that, you know, resulted in a first down. Actually, the penalty didn't, but the completion did. But, you know, it's, yeah, I think overall he's definitely been a bright spot, so to speak. I think the promise, the potential for a really good football player is there. He just needs reps. He needs experience, down in, down out. I think they need to let him play a little bit more man. A lot of zone kind of mixed in tonight again, much like against the Saints. They got to let King just play guys straight up, I think. First down swing to Jones, second down swing to Cobb, third and long, not good. I agree. I thought that was the series where I thought, where's Aaron Jones? I mean, this is the kid you should be riding. This should be your game plan, is getting the ball to Aaron Jones in the running game. And they went completely away from that in the second series, where they got behind the sticks because of those passes behind the line of scrimmage. Or maybe it was the third series, but whichever it was, that series in particular was the one where, wait a second, why are you not running the football? They had 2 weeks to prepare. How come they play like this? I'll tell you what, probably because they're not very good. Point blank, Dom Capers has been out-coached now badly 2 weeks in a row. Now, many people will say, yes, out-coached badly many more weeks in a row than that. I will say definitively the last 2 weeks have been pretty embarrassing for Dom Capers, and it's laid bare his inadequacies in the modern NFL. Golden Tate is like an annoying gnat that will never go away. I don't doubt Packers fans feel that way. He's a very good football player, and if he was on your team, you would love him. But I understand you don't because he's not. If Murphy, oh wait, who is it? What? If Thompson won't fire, who? Who needs to be fired? Thompson needs to fire McCarthy and Capers, and if he doesn't, Murphy needs to step in. All right. To quote Steve Martin from Parenthood, let's come back from La La Land because that ain't gonna happen. Jim Bob Cooter had his number all night. Yes, he did. He ate Capers' lunch pretty much the entire game. With the 8th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select? It's a great question. I haven't done any draft work yet. But 8th? Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe Thompson shouldn't have drafted 3 running backs in the draft and done something about the defense. I mean, come on. You did that on late in the third day. You think the late third day defenders are suddenly going to make a difference? You know, you had Vince Beagle out there tonight. Come on. That's encouraging, right? You know, they went by their board. They are coming off a year that they saw their top 2 running backs go down to injury, and their situation was so dire and so bad, they were running all 3 of their wide receivers at running back. One of them they converted permanently. They wanted to protect against that. That's on the third day of the draft. It's not like they were blowing first-round picks on that position. You guys overreact. Can we trade Capers for a new locker washing machine? I'm not quite sure what the NFL bylaws say about that, but I will look into it. How about the name Jim Bob Cooter? Awesome. Couldn't agree more. Micah Hyde and Julius Peppers might be helping yet. I would tend to agree. I think Micah Hyde will always be the one that was really perplexing to me. I understand he most likely wanted to hit free agency, but to not even make an offer, not even try, a guy who was here 4 years, playing his best football down the stretch for you, absolutely saved your defense in 2016, and you don't even offer him a deal. I mean, the guy was your only playmaker in the secondary at the end of last year, and you just let him walk out the door. You know, I don't get that. After you know you've got potential issues with Randall and Rollins, yeah. Josh Jones looks like he could be a force at the line of scrimmage. I agree. But again, this is that thing with Capers where Josh Jones, he seems to be really well suited to being around the line of scrimmage, to getting after the quarterback, to blowing up run plays. But then we see him playing all over the map, all over. Like, obviously he's a safety, so he's got to play back on occasion, but he doesn't seem to be utilized enough in the areas where he would be strongest and best. Now, some of that, obviously, injuries, guys in and out, I get all that, but man, let him loose. I think it's one of your only chances at disruption on the defensive side of the ball. Position to target in the draft for that 8th pick. Oh man, we got 8 weeks yet. Let's let the season play out. Is it Callahan time? That's a good question. No, not yet. Not for the Packers. I know McCarthy won't pull that trigger. I would. Again, here we go. That thing we were talking about earlier, where people's, I'm not sufficiently mad enough or whatever. And like, this doesn't really affect my life personally. I'm supposed to look and observe and tell you guys what I think. And that's what I do. Myself? Yeah, I'd go with Callahan. The heck? He's a gunslinger. Let him throw it around the yard. At least you know he's going to try and push the ball downfield. He's not a guy who looks at the rush. Hundley, just for whatever reason, Mike clearly doesn't trust him in the passing game. And when he is given those chances, he's not going to push the ball downfield. And I know a lot of people are going to point to the fourth quarter when they went to no huddle and they moved the football and they scored that touchdown. That's all well and good, but the big difference is it's not the beginning of the game when, in the fourth quarter, the Lions have a significant lead. They can sit back and allow you to take that. That's the same thing happening against the Saints. You're completing passes now that weren't available to you in the first half because the defense was playing much tighter. Now they're backing off. You can do all the no huddle you want because, you're using time. As long as you don't go deep, as long as you don't get a big one really quickly, they're going to let you have those. Does Mike McCarthy want to keep controversy? No. Do opposing teams ever need to bring their punter against the Packers? They sure didn't today. If Capers gets fired, who would they look at to replace him? That's a good question. That's something I'll definitely be looking at over the second half of the season. I would tend to, you could probably break one of two ways. It's either they promote someone like Darren Perry to try and keep the scheme. But the scheme kind of seems like part of the problem. Or they go outside and they completely blow up the scheme and hire somebody new. Hundley definitely not going to get a bubblegum contract. That's great. Rex Ryan is sitting there making bad jokes on Monday nights. I agree. I think Rex Ryan would be a great get. I said it last year. Hundley not the problem. Defense couldn't get off the field. Yeah, okay. The defense was bad. The defense is bad. But Hundley's not part of the solution either. Converting third downs is part of the gig. Extending drives is part of the gig. That's your job as a quarterback, not dropping your eyes, not coming off your reads early. Those are all things that Hundley is doing. He's not the problem. No, absolutely not. And McCarthy said as much. We got much bigger problems than Brett Hundley, and I agree. But he's got to make some plays, and he's got to help his team. something he's not doing very much of right now. Need to go. The 4-3-3-4 is outdated. I don't know about that, Andrew. The reigning Super Bowl champions run a 3-4, albeit with 4-3 looks mixed in, but still a 3-4 base. Jeff Gannis done a kick return. Sure seems like it. Looks like it's Trevor Davis's job here on out. Peppers made Perry look much better than he is. I would agree with that somewhat to an extent. I think Peppers made a lot of guys look better than maybe they were. But, you know, there's no denying. You turn on the tape from last year, Perry wins a lot of one-on-ones last year. And he has a few cleanup sacks, but for the most part, those are earned sacks that he beats a tackle one-on-one. And, he's still getting those opportunities. So it's not like, okay, Peppers isn't there, so Perry is getting double-teamed. He's still getting lots of one-on-one opportunities. He's just not winning at all, ever, even against backups. That's concerning, especially when they just dumped a ton of money in his lap. McCarthy, 4th and 2 reverse, says he doesn't trust Hundley. Yes and no. I mean, I agree that the call is questionable. McCarthy said you got to give Detroit credit there. I think Glover Quinn read that from a mile away. The concept is fine. It's just, Randall Cobb, he's not Tyreek Hill. He's a good receiver and he's a good possession guy, but he's not a guy who's going to blow around the corner on a talented secondary. He just doesn't have that kind of speed. Why didn't Jones get more carries? It's a great question. I asked McCarthy about it, and he got kind of testy. We don't really know. Randall has a nice turnaround since being sent to the locker room several weeks ago. Kevin, I couldn't agree more. He had a play, I think it was the first defensive drive. It might have been the very first defensive play, where he strung out the run to the outside and made a textbook play to tackle the ball carrier. And then his night just continued. I mean, obviously he missed some time with the injury, but he came back. He has played much, much better since the episode against the Bears. I think this may be Clay's last year with the Pack. Yeah, Greg, it's a possibility. Do you think the coach hasn't figured out how to work with Hundley yet? That's a possibility, absolutely. It could be he's trying to find the right fit, trying to find the right combination. I would tend to think, though, use your running game. Use Aaron Jones. That seems like a no-brainer. It seems like maybe you got away from him just to try and maybe prove a point tonight. I don't know. But, yeah, that's possible. He's trying to find the right kind of way to work with his strengths on offense. But, they're 4-4 now. The second half of the season is looming, and they haven't won a game with Brett Hundley as their quarterback. They got to start figuring out some ways to score some points. Need to let Hundley keep passing. Most of you don't remember when Brett Favre sucked but was given a chance and became a winner. Whew, a lot to unpack there. Yes, Brett Favre really struggled early on, but Brett Favre was also making mistakes because he was throwing the ball downfield because he had an arm that was blessed by God, like a thunderbolt. Brett Hundley doesn't have the abilities that Brett Favre did, even though while he was, to use your term, sucking, you could see the talent. There was a reason he was drafted in the 2nd round, and which probably would have been a 1st rounder if he hadn't been in the car accident, whereas Hundley dropped to the 5th round because of those lack of talent. Look, I think Hundley has some strengths. I think he can use his legs. I think his the deep comeback is really good. He threw some really nice slants tonight. But overall, he's got a lot of deficiencies that McCarthy is trying to work around. And will the light turn on, so to speak, with more reps? Maybe, but your season's slipping away while it does. Favre won his first game as a starter. Great, but quarterback wins are not a stat. You think Mike McCarthy fires Capers? Not anytime soon. I saw a lot of Thomas today. Been running the ball. Yeah, Mark, I agree. They didn't tonight, though. Brett Favre was winning early on. Duncan, yeah, they won some. They lost some. He was throwing interceptions a lot. Almost got benched, famously, for Mark Brunell. You don't sugarcoat it. They did not look great early on with Favre. season is over unless they win all other divisional games. I don't disagree with that assessment. McCarthy is the worst coach in the NFL. And that's where we're going to leave it. Now the crazies have come. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining me. Sorry if I couldn't get to your question. Like I said, they go very fast. But make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for all the latest. We'll have everything from this game. Looking forward to the Bears game. It's going to be a long week in Green Bay. Make sure you're in tune with everything going on with the Packers at PackersNews.com. And I'll be back here on Facebook live after we hear from McCarthy and the locker room tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good night.